This episode of the Survivor 50 Files is brought to you by our friends over at Manta Sleep. Summertime is officially here. The days are longer, the sun is brighter, and while all of that extra daylight can feel energizing, it can quickly sabotage your sleep. Later sunsets disrupt your body's circadian rhythm, making it harder to fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up feeling refreshed. That's where Manta Sleep comes in. Whether you're blocking out daylight or tuning out the sounds of summer nights, taking control of your sleep environment helps you get deep, restorative rest no matter how long the sun stays up. I love this sleep mask. When we looked for a sponsor for this podcast, they were the first company that I jumped to. I bought one of these during COVID. I was sleeping very poorly. I had a lot of anxiety. This doubled the quality of my sleep. I am loyal to it, and I've been influencing for this way longer than this podcast. Visit the Manta Sleep website and use our discount code 50files. That's 50 FILES for 10% off your order. Discount code is 50files, 50 FILES. Let's get to the show. What is going on, everybody? We are back with another episode of the Survivor 50 Files. My name is Brandon Donlon, and we're here to talk Angelina and Mike. Mike White, my favorite Survivor contestant of all time, and Angelina, the person I think I'm most excited to see on season 50. So I'm so thrilled to talk about both of them. And we're joined by a great guest, a Goliath, a friend of Angelina and Mike, star of The White Lotus, season 1, Alec Merlino. Alec, how you doing?
Not a star.
A star. Come on. Hutch.
Did you said you were most excited to see Angelina in 50?
I'm most excited to see Angelina.
How come?
Angelina's good TV. And that's one of the things I wanted to ask you is, like, when you're with Angelina that whole time, can you tell that this is going to be like magical TV? Was that a hunch that you had?
I mean, I had never done a TV show, right? So like, I was kind of I think there was a lot of things I was oblivious to. There weren't like certain things that I thought, oh, this is going to be great TV. But I don't know, like, yeah, when you say Angelina's you're most excited to watch her, I think oftentimes, I think a lot of us are curious as to like, is she going to kind of turn a new page or try to take on a new strategy? So it's tough to say if she's going to be like the same, and I'm sure she'll still be entertaining in some regard, but yeah, that should be interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited to see,
do you think it's going to be like the same, or do you think she's going to kind of change in some ways?
You played Survivor now 8 years ago, which I just talked to Gabby yesterday, and 8 years was a big, oh my God, it's been 8 years. But I'm excited to see like Angelina's, evolving in terms of like, she has a whole new life. I mean, she has 2 kids. She's got, a career. I don't know if she was married when she went on, but now she's married, so I'm excited to see what that personality that we knew when we watched, what that turns into. But Angelina's like hungry. Angelina wants to win, which is, everybody in this group wants to win because they're back. But I think, Angelina is a little bit more, maybe haunted is the wrong word, but I think Angelina really wants to define herself in a way that other people want to just be their same person. But I think Angelina is like looking to evolve and change up her game a little bit.
I agree. Yeah, we chatted about it before she left.
What was that like for you?
I was excited for her. She was the only one I knew about. And then Christian and Mike, I kind of heard after the fact. But I mean, come on, like, who's getting invited back. Like, I wasn't surprised. If I had to like look at our cast and choose 3 players, like they would have been the 3 players.
What's interesting about your season, though, is you have like 8 or 9 people that could make a case, including yourself, for going back, just because you guys are such a good group.
Yeah, Gabby, Davey, I'm sure, I don't know I know Davey was pretty outspoken about not getting invited back on, although I think he went through that process. I'm not really sure. I'm not like super plugged in with the Survivor world. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I think my like archetype, or call it what you will, I'm like, come on, like me. I don't know if there was a case for that. It's just kind of, yeah. People will say that, like, how come you didn't? I'm like, bro, there's no chance. I'm like, I don't think I was ever probably on that list, which I'm totally cool with. I'm stoked I got to, like yourself, live the experience. I don't know how you feel about the whole, it feels like a dream at this point, you know?
I watched a YouTube video of you talking about your Survivor experience, and you said that it feels like a dream. And I think your quote was like, "You can never get it back. You can't relive it. It's just it's gone."
Yeah, which is kind of good in a way, you know? It's like you kind of just like want to leave it. People are like, "Would you play again?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
if I would." It's kind of like it's kind of like dating someone. Like once you've like dated them and like you cut it off, like don't try to go back because then you kind of ruin it. And so I just feel like with Survivor, like I enjoyed the experience so much. And at least like being out on the island with the people that I was with and the cast, and like that's what I have in my head. And so to kind of trace back over that, I don't know if I don't know, like,
The dating analogy is interesting. Is like, do you go back and watch it? Like, are you looking at old pictures of the ex? Are you looking at the videos? Have you seen clips of when you were on in the past 8 years, or done a full rewatch?
yeah, like of course there's times I draw back right on Survivor, like I use analogies like that perch challenge is a big one that I use in life of, oh, I stepped off and if only I knew what I knew now, I never would have stepped off that perch. But I think I was a little younger and my ego was probably bigger. And so, yeah, that kind of haunts me too, right? Because I didn't really, I don't know if I told people, but I'm not very like money motivated. I don't even know what I would have done with $1 million at that time, probably given like a lot of it to my parents, but I just wanted to make it to that loved one's visit. So that stupid perch kind of haunts me. I'm like, why did I step off? So yeah, to answer your question, I'll go back and just see the little YouTube clips, but I've never gone back and watched Survivor. I watched it once through when it aired, with family and friends for the viewing parties. And then I've never gone back and watched it. Not that I think it's like cringe or I said anything or acted in a way that I'm like embarrassed of, but again, I don't know. It's just, I'm like, it's like, it's just an experience that I have. And I'm like, I don't need to go back and watch it.
Have you kept up at all? Have you seen Survivor since your Survivor? Have you been relatively tapped out of watching the newer stuff?
Yeah, I've been pretty tapped out. And that's not, it's weird, right? Like I was always super into Survivor before I went on. And then, I don't know. I don't, maybe it's because the format, I'm just not a huge fan of the format, to be completely honest. I'm not going to lie. Like 26 days, I'm like, and then maybe just all the twists. And again, though, this is, objectively speaking, and I don't know how other people feel about it, but.
Well, you know what? You mentioned the perch challenge, which now they don't do that anymore because of the 26 days. Is you can't have a challenge that runs for 5 hours because of the shooting schedule. So you're missing out on stuff like that, which that generated one of the best moments in the history of the show is seeing it's you contrasted with Christian of how badly you want to win. And then Christian is also wants to win badly, but is talking about, what he talked about. You can hear it. I'm sure you can hear the sandwiches, the macarons. You were there. But you miss that when they shrink it a little bit, which is a bummer because then you're taking away moments. The shortened timeline doesn't affect me as much in terms of the days and the cycle. The game feels similar, but when you're missing out on moments that are organic that happen like that, I feel like it's a hard thing to justify.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's to your point. I've never thought about it that way. Right. I know that there's other ways they have of kind of grinding people down, getting them to get emotional and vulnerable, which is through just like, they don't even give them food.
No food.
Yeah. Which is, that's gnarly. And I know there's people that are like, well, the gameplay is kind of goes faster because there's less time, but I don't know. Yeah. I don't even know. It's just like, I don't know if that's the reason I don't watch it or maybe it's because I'm like, oh, I got the experience and that's that. And I kind of want to disconnect from it a bit,
How do you think with now 8 years, older, how do you think you would do now? Like what has changed now in your life that if you played tomorrow, what's different?
It was interesting when I went on the show and I was on the boat and on the, like my tribe, I remember looking around and thinking like, oh my God, bro, like I'm out of here. I'm the first one out of here. There's no way.
Why?
Just because everyone was like clearly older and I don't know. I was like a bit insecure about what I was doing probably at the time. You know, they're kind of like when you go through castings, you're alone, right? And so they really do a good job at making you feel like special. And I went in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, like I can do this, charming, whatever. And then I get on the show and I'm listening to everyone talk about what their jobs are. And I was just like, oh, fuck. Like, dude, these people are way smarter than I, like, there's just no chance I'm going to make it even a week into this show.
It's so funny you say that. Gabby had told me before, I had known Gabby before I went on Survivor. And she told me, like, it's like in high school, you think you're the funniest person in your high school, and then you go to college, and then everybody's funnier. It's like, oh my God. Like, I thought that my accomplishments were at that level. So you enter and you're on the pregame. Gabby also talked about this, where she could kind of suss out a David versus Goliath thing, because the Goliath people in the pregame kind of had this aura about them. Did you feel that when you saw the people that ended up being on your tribe?
You know, I think everyone could agree. I really like checked out during that pregame, and I didn't look at anyone. I didn't know it was like a thing, like people would pregame before. So I wasn't, again, to the point of like, what would I do different? Or maybe it was just, I was just younger, right? Like I was just like, I'm going out on this island. That's all I was thinking about. It's like island and challenges. And I wasn't like, gameplay wasn't in my head. And so it wasn't something I paid attention to. I kind of just looked at it. And I mean, you don't know the theme. I didn't know David versus Goliath. It wasn't like, does someone have an aura? Does someone not? There was like one guy who stood out, which was Pat. He said something funny. Him and I both were like on the beanbags one night. But this is when we're not allowed to talk. And I think he was just trying to milk the time in Ponderosa because he didn't want to go sleep in his tent. And so I was reading a book and he's on the beanbag and he like was like this. And he was clearly passed out snoring. And like one of the, you know, like, I don't know, what do you call the people that kind of walk around and they have the earpiece in?
The handlers, producers.
Yeah, handler, producer kind of walks up and kind of like nudges him. And he's like, oh, and he wakes up. She's like, hey, you got to go to bed. Like you were falling asleep. He's like, no, I wasn't falling asleep. He's like, he goes, I was praying. And like, that was like my only memory, like on pregame. I'm like, that guy's funny, dude. But he never even ended up being on my tribe. But
nobody, Alec, nobody enjoys a Pat Cusack story more than I do. I love everything I hear about him.
Yeah, he's a good dude. But I guess long-winded answer to answer your question, what would I do different? I guess it's just probably like yourself. I'm sure you have things that you're maybe like, oh, I would do this. I just think outside of gameplay, just as a human being, I've changed. I would like to think I've learned a lot. I've experienced more. I had like all the experience and like the travel, and I felt like I was like, oh, I'd like to think I'm a genuine, authentic, personable individual. And I carried that with me on the first season of Survivor. And I think now it would just be like, be a little more intuitive with conversations, chat with everyone, pay attention more. Like, so there's just those things, right? And navigating the social politics of Survivor wasn't something I was great at. Wasn't really like, yeah, go ahead.
In that same video that I watched, you say that you went in and you didn't understand how Jeff said, like, play like it's your second time. But I feel like you did do that without knowing that Jeff, like, I feel like for super fans who hear that, they have to turn on the switch of like, oh, I should play like it's my second time. You did that on your first time without knowing that Jeff says that.
I think that, like, I went in, like the whole challenge thing, right? People like challenge that. People say to me that was like, even Mike said it. He's like, you just needed to like chill out on the challenges. But in my head, I was just thinking, well, I could get voted out second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever. And like, I would hate to look back and think to myself, and I didn't even go full blast on the challenges. So I was like, you know what? Screw it. Like if I get voted out, like whatever, but this is like a huge part of the reason I came here. I love doing these challenges. So that was like that. But the second time, I mean, I think you're probably referring to like that vote with Natalia. I mean, to be completely honest, I don't even think, I think like half of it, I know Mike was like, you were just trying to make a big move, which like, it wasn't the case. It was just me genuinely, no, I didn't trust Natalia. And I think I got gamed by Davey a bit in that moment because he's like, oh, this would be like perfect. So yeah, it was just, I think I was, again, it's just like lack of life experience. I went into that show. I know there's people like that were younger that have gone on that show that played way better than I did. But I think some of it was just, what do you call it? Reckless.
Reckless is fun. Reckless is good TV.
Yeah.
Gabby also mentioned, playing with Mike. Tell me about your first Mike White interactions on the first couple days. I know that you had said that you didn't know his career pre-Survivor, but tell me about learning about him without the air of him being who he is.
Yeah. Okay. So I remember pregame, what we were talking about. I saw Mike walking around. He always had this gray and black James Purse hat on. And the only reason I know about that brand is I saw it one time. It was like this hat was like circulating the internet. Justin Bieber wore one. I see Mike with one. So in my head, I was like, oh, this guy must like have money. It was like, they're expensive hats. That's all, I guess, what I'm trying to say. So my perception of Mike was like, oh, I wonder where this guy's from. He's probably like a dad, whatever. That was it. That was the extent of it. And then we get on the show, and I remember, I think it was like day one, Allison and I we're digging a hole we're trying to build the shelter. And she's like, I want to work with you. I like you. And then she goes, we can't trust Mike. And I was like, which one's Mike again? She goes, that guy. And I'm like, why not? And she goes, he's just like, he can weasel his way in. She said this, like, and he, obviously this is day one. So they ended up becoming friends and they worked together, but this was her perception. And she's telling me this. And she's like, also, he was on Amazing Race. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, cool. So that was that. And I kind of just like let it go. I always felt good about Mike. He was funny. He was cool.
You need that when you're there. You need somebody funny, like a funny presence, like distracts you from the suck of it all.
Yeah. And I think he knew that too, right? Like, he's like, oh, there's certain things that are like social currency within the game. And like funny is one of them. Like, you're spending so much time out there. And I think that was maybe one of the things that I unconsciously had going for me is, I don't know, I feel like I made things pretty lighthearted and had fun out there, and people probably enjoyed that. But yeah, Mike was just a fun dude. And then it was around, I don't know, maybe a weekend, we kind of bonded. We were just chatting about traveling and stuff. And then I think it was around 2 weeks in when someone told me he was a writer and was on School of Rock. Again, though, like I never, people made jokes, like Jeremy made jokes. He's like, I got like, Mike's undivided attention. Like, I'm not playing the game of Survivor. I'm playing the game of life. But I never put those things together. Like in my mind, like, you're out on the island. Everyone's equal, dude. I'm not thinking about what someone does back at home. It just felt like, I'm like, we're all like equals here. It felt like we were at like summer camp. I wasn't thinking about like Mike, and I certainly wasn't thinking about White Lotus or what I could get out of the dude, because none of that was a thing. And Mike knows this. I'm like, him and I became homies on that show. I was like, bro, you were him, and a lot of the people, I'm like, we just bonded. We're just homies. It doesn't matter if he was like a writer or actor or whatever. I feel like we would have the same relationship no matter what coming out of that show.
Yeah. And it's interesting now, he's going back with this air of everybody wants a spot on the show. Everybody wants your spot on the show.
Yeah, I know. That's going to be an interesting thing. I wonder, like, because of as aware of it as you and I are. I'm sure people on the show are going to be aware of it, but it'll be interesting because I'm sure, you know, like let's say you and I are in the show and we're watching Mike talk to someone, we'd probably be like, frick, bro, like, do you think he's kind of like using the White Lotus? And then you and I would probably be sitting there saying, we can't fall into that trap. Like, do we got to get this guy out? Is he too dangerous? Or are there going to be people who kind of like cling on to that currency that he has and that he can offer? I don't know.
Has seeing him on the White Lotus set, the times that you've gone there, has that given you like more of an appreciation for his Survivor game? Like, I'm sure you're seeing him like, I mean, you're seeing him direct and you're seeing him produce. Like, is that orchestrating all of that? Does that make you think he is a better or reaffirm what you already thought about his Survivor game?
Yeah, I would certainly say I never really like understood what it was Mike did. I mean, I've never been in that world, you know, but I do remember when we were waiting during I think it was like before a challenge, and he's like, I'm so over this, like people telling me to not talk and shut up. And then he was like, I'm used to being in charge of like hundreds of people. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, he's like, oh, like on set and stuff. I still didn't get it. I couldn't even picture it in my head, you know, because I've never been in Hollywood. I've never been on a set. And then when we went to Hawaii and I was like, oh, whoa, now I get it, you know? And yeah, I mean, his game, I think the reason he was so good is he just understands people. Like, he's used to dealing with so many different personalities, especially in Hollywood, in a world that, and this isn't to like make a statement about it, but it's Hollywood. Like, there's a lot of egos in Hollywood. Everyone knows that. Like, it's obvious. And so it's just a fact. He's good at dealing with all those different types of personalities. He gets it. And then you get on Survivor, and there's a lot of egos on Survivor. People are ground down to their wits' end. And then, you know, you need someone who just understands people. And that was Mike. He just gets it. Just like knew. It was just like applying that same blueprint. It was like, if anything, it was probably easier for him. He's like, this is great.
He's always had the social. But the streets are saying, and you, Alec, have seen him more recently than I have or anybody has, but the streets are saying that he's jacked. Is Mike White jacked now?
Oh, like physically jacked?
Jacked.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's always, you know, that guy's he undersells himself. He's an athletic dude. Like, you saw him win challenges. Every time he was on a group challenge, I don't think he ever lost. Like, he was always just like, he just plays into it. Like, if he wanted to do some of these things, like the you know, like the hero spot in the challenge, he could have easily done it. I think he kind of just like, oh, I'll cruise in the middle of the pack. I don't want to be like labeled as a threat, because he is. He's like we were in Hawaii. I was doing pull-ups one day and he was walking back from set. I wasn't working that day and I was just doing pull-ups and push-ups, and he jumped in. He was just cranking out pull-ups with me. I'm like, damn, bro. And then like when we went back to Fiji, and we've done all this stuff like scuba diving together, like water skiing, all these like things. And he's just like, no problem at all. So he's super athletic. And yeah, he is jacked. He works out hard. He's got this personal trainer, Ho. He's super cool. And he's always out like in Thailand with him. And so he's just dedicated. It's like every day. And then he's got his like food all dialed. So yeah.
We got to get Ho on here. I'd love to talk to Ho if Ho is reachable.
He'd be sick to talk to.
That's
I mean,
so
talk
funny.
about, someone who spends like, especially on set, they spend so much time together.
Yeah. When you were on the White Lotus set, were people aware at that point that you guys were from Survivor together? Did they watch? I've always wondered if the actors are all coming in having watched Mike play Survivor.
Yeah, I think like, I want to say it's like a joke now. I know I can't say this for certain. If Mike, I know he like kind of throws it out there. He'll joke with the new cast of White Lotus coming in, like, hey, go watch my season on Survivor. And so, cause I remember I went to Italy, I went out there and some of the people were like, whoa, you're Alec. I'm like, how do you know who I am? And, you know, cause they watched the season of Survivor. But going into the first season when I was on the White Lotus, I don't really think people knew. And then later on they caught on, because they're probably like, who's this like actor, you know, actor who we've never seen before, who has this part, you know, which is a small part, a couple lines an episode. I'm not ungrateful. I'm just saying, like, factually speaking, smaller part. But then like, why is this guy hanging out with the director? They're probably like, I don't get it. Like, is he okay? And then yeah, people caught on. They're like, oh, okay, yeah. So he's entitled. He was the one on Survivor with Mike, and he just got the spot, which is pretty much true. Like, I say I auditioned and I did, but I'm like, let's be honest. Like, Mike probably just like pushed it through. Even if I was terrible, he's probably just put him on the show.
I mean, you're so far the only Survivor alumni to have a multiple episode arc. You're there for a while.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm stoked on that. That was I wasn't expecting that, you know. I didn't have anything to compare it to either. I just went out there and I was like, all right, let's do it.
When the other folks, like when Kara and Angelina and then Carl, Natalie, Christian, when they go out to the Whalers, are they asking you like advice? You know, when you go to Survivor, you find an alumni to talk about Survivor with before you go. Are they reaching out and be like, how is this? What do I do?
Nah, like, because I think, I don't know. I mean, think like Kara, Angelina, Christian, Carl, Natalie, they're all super confident. Like Kara and Angelina on like camera, like, nah, they were, if anything, I was like, I was the one who would have needed advice because I get pretty nervous on camera. So, and I was like by myself, and everyone who went out there kind of had buddies, like Kara and Angelina were together. I don't know if I chatted to them. I think they kind of told me, I'm like, oh, that's sick. Like have fun or whatever. But I'm the last person who should be giving advice on acting anyways, because I have no clue what I'm doing.
You were natural. I mean, it worked. It worked on screen, you know. It was a fun situation. You know, we talked about Mike in those early stages of Survivor, but tell me about your relationship with Angelina in those first couple weeks when you guys were together.
Angelina was like, it's funny, like trying to look back and draw on my relationships. And the only ones I can really think of that stood out are the ones that I kind of had I'm trying to think, like, you know, that deeper connection with, that kind of sort of tugged on my heartstrings. And those people are the ones that I have like vivid, clear, like crystal memories of our reaction that kind of like popped us over to that next level. Like obviously Kara and we had this conversation that was off camera, which is really weird.
Off camera where? At what point during the game?
It was like 2 weeks in. We had one of those chickens, and Kara didn't want to see us kill the chickens. And so she went down and she was kind of just chilling by herself. And I was up there, and then I went down to rinse my hands and jump in the water. And as I'm walking back up, I saw her. So I kind of sat there and chilled with her and we talked. It was like an hour and a half. There was just no camera guy down there.
Somebody could get fired for that. That's so funny. They're not supposed to let you do that.
I know. Yeah. I mean, granted, there was no game talk at all. It was just, we were talking about life. Like I remember the conversation like it was yesterday. We talked about her mom and her family, and we talked about like our outlook on life and what we want to do after the show, all this stuff. And that for me was like, whoa, like the chick's sick. Same thing with Mike. We talked about traveling and we talked about this and that. And so I have, certain instances. And so to answer your question about Angelina, like the memory I had with Angelina, like I remember we were sitting watching sunset. It was her and I, and she was kind of scratching my back. Little did I know, I'm like, this chick is like, this is a game, you know, this is like a move. She's like, so it makes me feel good. She'd always massage me, her and Kara, and Angelina was like scratching my back. And I just remember thinking like, oh, this, like, she's definitely sweet, right? But on the show, and nothing against Angelina, I didn't trust her, because I think Angelina kind of came off like, is politicky a word? You know, where you're like, dude, just like loosen up, like just be real. I don't fucking trust you right now. Yeah. And it kind of bugged me. And John was the same way with me. I was like, and I could have given that perception off too, right? I don't know how I was, because I was not the best gameplay. A lot of people came up to me and they're like, how are you feeling? I'm like, yeah, just, I was like, I don't know. I'm just thinking, you know? So I was probably the worst at it. But like, yeah, with Angelina, she was sweet, but we didn't have like that. Like, I wasn't like, can I count on Angelina? I don't know. I mean, I betrayed her trust first, so I can't blame her for it. When we did that vote, and I think it was Allison and I, or someone who flipped, and we wrote down Angelina, and from there it was just done. She's like, you suck.
Yeah, and that's the kind of, evolving that I'm hoping to see from her is, she has a lot of things working for her. And I think everybody there, especially like the new era people, the people who have played in the last 5 years, we all love her. I mean, I think people are excited to meet her too. So she'll have built-in people. And I think if she can do a little bit less of that in terms of maybe opening up a little bit more and kind of like, the veil comes off a little bit, I think it
Yeah.
might be a different journey. People talk about your final tribal council. They talk about Mike in terms of Mike wasn't really, this has been said a couple of times in interviews, Mike wasn't as fighting for it as people expected him to in terms of him against the winner of the season, who's, fighting. And although Mike had a great game, he kind of was maybe waffling on if he wanted that win or not. How was that night for you? Is that your recollection?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't say one word at tribal council.
At the final tribal?
Yeah, no. I mean, people might think, oh, did they cut him out? I mean, I didn't even say one thing. So there was nothing to even air. Jeff kind of threw me a bone. He's like, Alec, you were like a challenge threat, like something. I'm like, oh, I don't know. It was just like, I get like so nervous for some weird reason. I don't know. So I didn't really say anything. I was really just kind of paying attention. But I do remember, to your point, yeah, Mike was, I think you used the term waffling. That's a good term. He would go really good. He would give these like super rad speeches. You're like, oh, I feel like, yeah, like you're the guy. And then at the end, he'd be like, but I mean, party goes on, and if you it just over, and it was kind of, I'm like, what do you want? Like, what do you do? I was like, fucking whatever then. Like, you don't even want the money, like just own it. Like, just fucking, he said all these things that were that obviously he knew what he was doing. The dude slept alone in camp because he didn't want to be perceived as a threat. Every single person, he made them feel like he was his best friend. Around camp, he busted his ass. He just didn't do too much, and he never did too little. He won challenges. He socially was in on every vote, always knew what was happening, steered a lot, planted seeds. Like, he played the best game. And then you get to the end, and he's kind of just, I don't know what his thing was. I don't know if he was like nervous, like, oh, like he would always make comments like, oh, if I win the money, I'm going to landscape my backyard. That was obviously like a thing that he probably just dropped to be like, let me just lower my threat level. He would talk about, oh, I have a house in Hawaii. You guys can come out. He would talk about if he won the money, he would pay for everyone to party. Like, all these things were like, he did all these things and he got himself to the end. So it's like, fuck, man, just say it as it is. Own it. Be like, this is what I did. I played all of you, but I played the best game. But for him, or for me, at least when I was listening to it, I was like, I don't know. I'm not like super inspired by this like story, the way you're kind of like recapping it, So
what's the difference now, do you think? Like, why for him, why go back?
Because Mike is just an experienced dude. Mike told me something a long time ago, which was like, Mike's life is all about experience. That guy really is the epitome of just, and even with all the money and the success and fame, like what have you, I do believe that like this is just all a vehicle for Mike to continue to enjoy life and probably spoil his friends. And he's just an experienced guy. Like, that's all he wants to do. So he's probably like, oh, I want to go back on the show. Is there probably a small piece of him that's like, oh, I need to prove to myself that I can make it to the end and actually win it? Yeah, because Mike's a competitive dude, whether he wants to admit it or not. So I would imagine that that's the draw. But I mean, he did Amazing Race twice, Survivor. Now he's going back on Survivor in the middle of all this White Lotus stuff. So obviously it's not money. He's got enough, and he's got the White Lotus thing going on. It's not about fame. So then you're like, well, what is it? Experience. And maybe there's some like emotional thing deep down there that he's just like, I need to do it. Because he's always said, he's like, oh, I just want to look back on life and say that I lived a cool life. That's his like, MO.
Yeah. He really is. Like, his whole game is, I mean, he's my favorite Survivor contestant ever, like out of all 700 people, just because I think he balanced being all of the things that, like, it was almost like there's a guy that was on this most recent season, Kyle, who said he's like the best average guy you'll ever meet, which I think Mike really did that well, where he was very funny. He was very cool, but he never seemed too much of anything. Like he really, he really wrangled his threat level in a way where he's this guy, and people, not everybody knows, but he's multimillionaire, super famous guy that can manage to get to the end and beat out people who are like clamoring for that money, which is really impressive. I mean, you have people who go on who are relatively famous or in the limelight, and that they're out and they're clipped pretty early. And he's the only one who's made it. I'm sorry, Lisa Welcher, who is an actress who was on The Facts of Life, makes it to the end as well.
Yeah.
But they to be able to do that with people who literally like they're there for money. They want the check to better themselves. Like it's a really impressive thing to do.
Yeah. And I think it goes to just, I don't know. I mean, like, yeah, a lot of people, I would say the majority of people there are there for money. There's a few that, of course, come to mind that have gone on the show. Like Russell I think he had said, he's like, I don't need the money. I don't know how true that is. I don't know the guy, but that's the one that popped in my head.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's other people that are there like, I just want to win this game and get the title. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. I wonder if because Mike is there for that and he's like, I don't need the money, do people subconsciously think, okay, well, he doesn't have that story that could potentially beat me out of, oh, I need the money, I got family and kids and this and that, and the typical what do you call it, scenarios.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that'll win again this time, right? Like the I don't need the money thing. I'm just here for the experience. But he like hammered that into everyone's head when we were on the show. I'm not here for the money. I'm just here for the experience.
It's funny. There's the Drop Your Buffs podcast. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but there's a Survivor podcast also. They had said about Mike, because they know Mike, personally, that Mike wants to make good TV this time. Like Mike is there to like make a show. What is that? Mike, what does that mean to you? To like, Mike wants to make good TV on Survivor.
Mike's had a lot of ideas just outside of even being a contestant again on Survivor for the show. And then of course, I mean, he writes for a living. So I don't know, like Mike said the first time we were on, he's like, when we were all suffering, it wasn't hard when we were cold and wet and sandy or hot and doing these challenges. He always said it wasn't hard because we were suffering for a greater cause. Like he goes, we were suffering for America. And so like, again, when you have the cameras out there, someone like myself wasn't like consciously aware of maybe the faces I was making, the things I was saying, the way I was coming off. Whereas Mike is probably just so in tune and hyper fixated on what am I saying? I guarantee you that guy will say something in a confessional or do something and he's probably just like, boom. He's like, that's going to make it on TV. Whereas the rest of us just kind of like mosey on through the whole season. And
yeah.
But so good TV. I mean, he's probably just going to be ruthless with his comments, and I would imagine his gameplay will be very similar. It's not going to like go out and try to be the challenge beast. I don't know. It's interesting. It really is.
Do you have any insight onto Angelina's motivation for a second time? Like in terms of, I mean, I'm sure that, money and fame are also second to that title, but what is the motivation, do you think, for her to go back and play one more time?
Yeah, I would say you said money and fame. Of course, money, right? Like money for Angelina. She has her business, Joy Babe. Fame, like a little more of a platform to kind of, but I would say those are kind of the lower on the totem pole. I would say for Angelina, I would imagine that watching herself the first time play the game, she may or may not have been a bit upset, getting to the end and thinking I got no votes. Which, I mean, I know I'm close with Angelina, and I think Angelina's done a lot of like self-reflection on that and think, okay, like I thought I played this game. I thought I was this person going in. I make it to the end, which is like something in itself, but then I get no votes. Like, how is that not adding up? It's like studying 10 hours for a test and then getting an F. You're like, wait, what did I do wrong? And so I think she probably has seen a lot of those things, thought to herself, oh, maybe I'm not who I thought I was. Like watching yourself back can be, what's the word? Like, just gives you a lot of insight into who you are, and you're like, oh, whoa, that's how I come across. So maybe there's a part of Angelina that thinks I can do better. Like there's this other side of me that people haven't seen. I'm not that, rice negotiating, jacket asking, like I've seen other layers of Angelina. I told her this before. I'm like, dude, just like go out, and there's so much opportunity for you, because people think they're going to get this version of you, when in reality, like I was like, you're smart. You went to fucking Yale and Stanford, and you're intelligent. And I think where you lack is maybe like the social awareness of how you're coming across. And I'm like, don't be so like politicky. Just be real, dude. Just be honest and raw, and don't try to like always stay on everyone's good side. Like it's just not going to happen. Just be real.
This is a conversation that you have right now before she left for this.
Yes. I was like, I'm like, Angelina, I've seen such a cool side of you. You're like, you don't need to please everyone. Like you're so sweet and funny. And there's all these sides of Angelina that people didn't get to see the first time on Survivor. And so I just told her, looked at her. I'm like, dude, you don't need to try to appease everyone. And with the question asking, she's like, I'll get there, Jack. Like, show the sides. Like if you're miserable and you're like, I'm over this, just show that. And if you're like angry or upset, show that. You don't need to be like happy all the time and trying to just be real.
What brought you and Angelina closer post Survivor? What fostered that friendship?
I would say, like, when Kara and I were dating, Angelina, we were all close in proximity to each other. So we got to spend a lot of time together. And then because that, also too, like I've been there for some pretty big parts of Angelina's life. Like when they bought a house and they moved down to San Diego, and then now she has 2 kids. Like I've just like been plugged in a lot of part of Angelina's life. And I don't know, Angelina's loyal. She's someone you can count on. And like, she really does want the best for people in her life. Like, I know she might come across a certain way. Like if you watch that first season of Survivor, like, I don't know what people's assumptions about Angelina are, but she is so caring and loving. Obviously, like she loves her kids. She's super intelligent. She's driven and ambitious with this whole business thing. She obviously has something to prove to herself with going back on Survivor. What that is, I'm not entirely sure. I think it's just like, I want to prove to myself that I can play a different game. Even if she makes it half as far, as long as she's like the Angelina that I know, I'm sure she'll be stoked and proud of that. So yeah, I think it's just like, Angelina's cool. Maybe she thinks I'm cool. Just enjoy her company.
Yeah. Are Angelina and Mike, they have a good relationship as well.
Yeah. I don't know how much they hang out. Again, like I can't really speak. I don't talk to Kara much anymore. Angelina I talk to like, here and there. And it's of course like, it's like no time has passed. I can just pick up the phone and we catch up. Mike and Angelina's relationship, I'm sure it's same as mine and same as like Kara with Mike. I think we all have like equally strong relationships in different ways. I think the good thing is like, I don't know. I mean, I know people are going to know that Angelina went on the White Lotus and like she knows Mike, but I don't know if they think their relationship is super strong or what people are going to think about that.
And Christian also, it hasn't come up, but Christian's over there too with that.
Yeah. Christian's like, I mean, that's another one. Like Christian and I were like this on that show. I love that guy.
Yeah.
Like Christian was one of my favorites. If I could have, yeah. There was that guy was just so, I mean, yeah, everyone's going to probably say like, he's like voted most likable. Like I could cry talking about that guy because he was just such like a genuine dude. And like, I feel like he evolved so much on that show and grew and like with the challenge and winning the challenges. And I have so many good core memories of Christian that it just cracked me up. Like I remember I taught him this game. We were all sitting out on the beach and the cameras, it was probably the easiest scene for those guys to film because we had the entire cast. This is during the merge, sitting on the beach about to watch sunset. And so they all had their cameras posted up, just facing at us. And we're just all sitting out looking and talking. And I remember I had asked Kara, I was like, oh, like, what's like a funny story? And she told this New Year's story. And it was like, we're like all listening and we're cracking up. And then I taught Christian this game. I'm like, have you ever played this game, Odds? And I taught him this game. And anyways, I oddsed him and he ran in the water and then he rolled around in the sand. It was just like funny. I'm like, dude, this guy is so sick. Like, I don't know. Christian was so rad. I've thought about, someone asked me like if I think he'd make it far. I'm like, I don't know. He's like go ahead.
I don't want to be the guy who votes off Christian. I think that is going to affect the game. I think at least for those earlier rounds. I mean, Christian leading up to this season is the only person that everybody in this whole Survivor versus like, oh, he will be on season 50. He's the only one that had like universal 100% approval. So I don't know if I'm there, and granted, you want to do anything to win. If Christian's the vote, but I feel hesitant for anybody to point the finger at Christian so early into the season. I think once he gets to the same spot that you were around, like your final 10, 8, 6, like that's when I think you clip so he can't win, because he'll win. He'll win every time.
But then what's the benefit of keeping him there earlier on?
I think there's so many, especially in the new era. You know, I think you have these people from the first 10 seasons, people you watched when you were younger who were there. And then you have the new era folks. And I think everybody's coming in with ego. And I think Christian, and I think, you know, both Angelina and Mike have this like lack of ego that I think is really palatable. Like, I think you can't feel Mike's ego. I mean, Mike is, you know, making self-deprecating jokes with you guys at the camp and is, spending the money to do whatever to his backyard. I think that's really great. And I think Christian and Angelina both are brilliant, you know, like super educated, have great careers, you know, whereas the people on the far sides have either waited 20 years to come play again or have waited a year and they've only thought about Survivor for a year. I think the people who we're speaking of, like, they're in the sweet spot of it's far enough away where we can kind of come in with a fresh perspective, but it's not 20 years where we're coming into a new show. You watched Colby, and Stephanie LaGrossa. They're with them right now, and I worry for people who it's been 4 presidents since they've been on Survivor. That's tough.
Yeah.
It's a tough situation to be in. So I think this group is really, really good. And I think if there's likely going to be 3 tribes, maybe they're all split up 1-1-1. But if 2 of them are together, I think that is probably a little bit more dangerous because then it's like there's a pair. But if they're split up, I think they're chilling for a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, right? Like, I don't think they would put. It's going to be interesting to see who they pair up. If that's Christian and Mike or Angelina and Mike.
Yeah.
Because it's going to suck. It's going to suck for whoever is the pair. I mean, I'd want to be like the solo one. Because if you are the pair, I would imagine they're going to be a target, right? Like
for sure.
Mike, they're going to be like, oh.
For sure.
But yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, maybe. It's funny. Angelina was actually the one who's like, we need to get Christian out. He was supposed to be the first vote of the merge. She's like, we're all going to hate ourselves when we're watching this back on TV thinking, why did we not take this guy out sooner?
It's funny. She has a couple rounds where she is so outspoken on what she wants and it ultimately doesn't go her way. And I'm wondering how that will affect when she comes back, is how, like, whether it's the approach that she's taking, because Christian should have gone out the first round of it. Like that makes sense for her and her game. But she couldn't rally. And I wonder if in these 8 years, she's kind of fine-tuned how to rally.
Yeah, I know. It's a good thought. I mean, she obviously has the brains. There's like zero question about that. It's just like, again, it goes back to how she's being, it's like the social awareness, how she's being perceived by other people, how she comes off. Can she kind of fine tune that part? Because if she can, damn, she'd be unstoppable.
Yeah.
Like, she gets the game. She understands the game. She gets relationships. Even her prior job before, I know she worked at Deloitte doing mergers and acquisitions. Like, she understands people.
Yeah.
So it's just, to your point, can she like fine tune the execution on these like big game time decisions? I think she can.
Yeah, I hope she can. I mean, I think that she can. And I also think there's going to be so many people who like shoot out of a cannon, right? And they're so excited, they're
Yeah.
ready to be back there. And I think it bites people in the ass. Whereas if she's done years of reflection, like I think she'll know to like slow your roll a little bit. You know what I mean? And I hope that's the journey. Because I know the people who watch the show, I mean, people are, like I said, more excited for her. I mean, I am more excited to see her than, you know, 7/8 of the group that's there. You know, that people are really, really jazzed to see her back there. If between the three of them, you're Christian, you're Mike, you're Angelina, who do you think has the best chance of winning?
Oh man. I think that Angelina has the best shot at making it to the end. Because if she goes back, let's just say hypothetically, if she goes back and ends up playing the same game, the same thing's going to happen to her. Well, she'll get dragged. I don't want to use that term. She said it. This is why I'm saying this. She's like, I got taken to the end as like, I don't know what they call it, right? Like a goat. I can't remember
the goat.
term.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is funny because like in today's day and age, goat is like, he's the goat. Greatest of all time. Not so. Sure. It's funny they use that. But okay. So I think the reason she has, the best shot at making it to the end is because if she plays that same game, we've seen it play out, like chances are she'll get taken to the end if it's a final three. But then if she doesn't, I think that it'll be too late. 26 days is too late for people to be able to catch on like, oh, whoa, she's playing an entirely different game here. And if she's able to execute on some of these things, like, we've seen her make it to the end once, and if she's able to execute on these things and steer the vote and be the decision maker, I think, and then she has a shot at actually like winning, because I think she has, speaking in regards to her past, it's like she'll be able to be like, I've kind of like changed the most, and it's going to be such a stark contrast between, last time I was here, I didn't do this, and now I was able to like execute on all these things. I was able to know where the vote was going and do this. And so I think that'll be a big thing versus like, let's just say Mike makes it to the end. Like what has he changed? He's going to like probably replicate that same format. I'm not saying he doesn't have a shot at winning. I do think I told this to someone on an earlier podcast. I was like, Mike's another one that I think will make it to the end. And then Christian, I can see him, to your point, getting far, but you're playing with a group of returning players that are all very smart and privy to the information of, if this guy who's so likable gets to the end, chances are he's going to beat everyone. Like, why would you want to bring Christian to the end? Which is a compliment, like if he sat there in the final three, he'd probably win.
With you guys for sure.
But I say Angelina, top, Mike, Christian. Like, I think Angelina has the best shot.
Is there anybody from your show or any of the other shows that you wish was playing again? Anybody that you have like damn, I wish they were out there?
It's a good question. Like Jeremy.
Of course. Jeremy?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like, he didn't make it far, but that's like another thing TV didn't see, is just how funny that guy was. And I think he was his own demise. He just strategized too much too early on. I think just in general, not for this season. I'd love to see that guy play again, because I know how entertaining he is.
Alec, you're talking to a funny guy who was out early, who was his own demise. So I'm all for them coming back. You know what I mean? That sounds great to me.
You're like, oh, I like that answer.
Yeah, it's a great answer. I got to text Jeremy. We got to free. I'm in New York. I think he's here, so we'll see each other.
Do you ever have, like, when you reflect back on your experience, are you ever like, have you been able to cope with it, or is it something you think about, like, oh, I should have done this, or I wish I wouldn't have done this?
Spoiler alert for season 45, which I knew you were going to watch tonight after we got off here. So spoilers, it went so bad. It went off the wall bad to where it became funny. So it's like, if I let it get to me, then it'll really get to me. So I just have to, kind of turn it into something in my head that's positive. And it really was. Like, I had dreamed about going for my entire life, and then I got to go. It went south, but I got to go. I got to get my torch snuffed by Jeff. Like, that's the coolest thing in the world. Other than winning, it's the coolest thing in the world. So
Yeah.
I've kind of done a lesson in reframing like the bad parts of the experience and kind of turning them into something that I'm grateful for. I mean, I went in super anxious. Being anxious is what kind of bit me. And now I am not anxious. Like, I'm severely less anxious than I was in life because of, like, if the worst thing that you could have ever imagined happened to you happens to you like 6 times in a row, what are you afraid of? You know, what's the worry? So I really, like, it's the best thing I've ever done because of that. So I guess to answer your question, I think about it, but I'm very grateful. I'm very, very grateful for the whole thing.
That's good. I was going to say too, like, I mean, you're doing this now. You're
Pretty
great.
good.
You got a good podcast voice. I don't know if it's the mic or what, but I'm like, it feels like we're kind of
I'll
born
take
for this. So who knows where this will lead?
I am thrilled. I said, you know, you were one of the people that from your show that I loved watching. Always wanted to meet you. So thrilled we got to do this.
Sick.
Tell everybody where they can find you. Tell everybody what you're working on too. I'm so interested in your startup. So talk about that.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited too. You know, I've kind of like been in this content space for a while now, post Survivor, not because of Survivor, just because of, I don't know, my life. But yeah, I started that at the very, very beginning of the year. I've always wanted to start a business, and I feel like this is just like perfect timing. Stars have aligned. I'm a little older now, you know, I'm 31. And so a little more locked in and not so head in the clouds and just trying to, like, I don't know, jump on any opportunity or any travel experience. Now it's more like, all right, let's lock in and work. But anyways, natural skincare. So I've been making this natural sunscreen, working on that, which has been quite the journey, fun. Super grateful to even be in a position to start something. And also too, I'm like so passionate about this. It's called Surfing Cow. It's like, I thought it was just going to be, I'm going to start this sunscreen thing. And I've learned so much. And so many people I'll just be out and they're like, oh, you're the Surfing Cow guy. And I'm like, this is sick. Not that like that part of it, but just I'm like, dude, I've always wanted to start something and I've envisioned it and believed it. Same way when I got on Survivor, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get on the show. Like, I just believe that I'll get on the show. That's how I've always been my whole life. And like things just work out, you know? And
what led you to skincare?
Well, I was kind of, I mean, I grew up in San Clemente. I've been in the sun my whole life. And then you like look at yourself. I'm like, dude, I'm getting older. I need to take care of my skin. And it was actually Kara turned me on to some skincare products, like now probably like almost 2 years ago. And then I was using those. And then my sister got me into like all natural type products. And then, so I just thought to myself, I could probably do this like better. Like, there's not a lot of natural options out there. And a lot of this stuff is harmful. I wonder if I could do this. So I was just like, yeah, screw it. Let's just do it. Let's just like, you know, see where it goes. And so
you started making it like in your house. You started cooking it there.
Yeah. In my kitchen, kind of just experimenting with different samples and then Yeah. It's been so fun, dude.
I looked at the Instagram. It's not only does the product look super cool, but the hats. The hats are really good.
Yeah.
The hats are cool.
Yeah, people like hats, which I'm surprised about. I'm like, all right, you guys want hats and no sunscreen? I mean, like,
I might be getting one.
Yeah.
But Alec, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for joining me to talk about your people. Thrilled.
No, I appreciated this. You were really good. This was different. It was really. I feel like we kind of just cruised up, you know, at cruising altitude, and we were just there the whole time. Really good questions. Made me think too. It wasn't like the typical questions. So I enjoyed that. That was fun.
Oh my God, I'm thrilled. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Have a good one. We'll be back again next time with another episode of the Survivor 50 Files. Take care and goodbye. Thank you to our friends at Manta Sleep for sponsoring this episode of the Survivor 50 Files. You've made it to the end of the podcast. You've been here long enough. Let me show you my sleep mask, the one that I use and I use every night. Here it is. I've worn this every night for the past couple years, minus the 4 nights that I spent on Survivor, the television show. And it sucks to get voted out of Survivor, but a little bit better when you know you're going back home to this. This is 100% light blackout for deeper sleep. You put this on, can't see anything. When I watched the first 2 episodes of Survivor 45, I put this guy on. I don't have to relive it, which is great. It's adjustable for a personalized fit. You can see I have quite a big head. I don't want to show you the details of, I've kind of worn out the elastic, but it's durable. This guy hasn't broke. I've worn it every night for the past couple of years, and it's zero pressure on your eyelids or eyelashes. I've converted so many people to getting this sleep mask when I wasn't doing this, and I want to convert you. Use promo code 50files. That's 50 FILES on the Manta Sleep website to get 10% off your order. That's 50 files, 50 FILES. We'll see you soon.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.